Welcome to Camp Constitution Radio with your host, Hal Shurtleff. This show was heard on WBCQ The Planet every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show comes out of beautiful Monticello, Maine, up in the Aroostook County area of Maine, potato country. Anyway, we have a special guest, but before I introduce her, just want to tell you a little bit about Camp Constitution. It is a all-volunteer association. Among other things, it has runs a summer camp, a week and a day-long summer camp in Rindge, New Hampshire, in the southwest part of the state. And we also have a book publishing arm. In fact, we did publish or co-published a book by the guest when she calls in. Also, I got some good news that we're going to be, I guess we've already started to be on an online network, which our guest will be telling us about. She's involved in that. She's the one that made it happen. And one of the things we just published or reprinted is the 1979 Constitutional Procedures hearings that took place at the U.S. Senate Subcommittee on the Constitution, headed by Orrin Hatch, 1,300 pages. I just got it from the printer. I haven't got a chance to put it up on our bookstore, but we'll do that soon. Anyway, it was a little technical difficulty. Let me just see if I can get our guest on here. This is what happens with TalkShoe. Sometimes we record this on TalkShoe, usually a day or so in advance. Anyway, the 1,300-page document reprinted for the first time since it was made available. It has hearings of testimony of legal experts, constitutional scholars, and it has people from both sides of the spectrum. So it's not just those who oppose an Article 5 convention, but those people on both sides of the issue. And it puts to rest the idea that there were only well-funded fringe people were against this. Oh, I guess our guest is there. Let me introduce a woman who's become a good friend of mine. I first heard her speak at Faneuil Hall, I think it was 2008, in Boston. She did an incredible job giving us the message of freedom and liberty. Mrs. Jenn Coffey. Jen, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good. Well, I'm glad you got through. Jen, I want to. I mentioned that the show was now being broadcast on a internet radio. Could you give us some information about that? Because I didn't remember the exact name.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very proud to have you joining ipmnation.com. We are a live radio station, and we have 2 live stations. We have a television station. So there's a lot of different content. Now, it is unique in that both of us have been hosts of shows in the past and seen the difficulties that hosts go through trying to get the message out, whatever their message is. And we've designed, Matt Connaughton, the owner of IPM Nation, he started this back in 2007, I believe. But at this point where we launched this whole new world of having a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week live station. And now we've expanded to 2, and you're joining us.
Well, I'm very happy to do that. Thank you for making that happen.
Absolutely happy to. And the other unique quality about our programming is that it is everything from anybody. We are a true free speech network. You may hear something from the far left. You may hear something from the far right. Everyone has a voice if they want to share and get that voice out. And we're what's interesting, that's the philosophy of the owner of WBCQ The Planet. And he was well known in the pirate radio world, Alan Weiner, and he believes has a wonderful idea about the airwaves should be made available to the people.
He holds he's more of a libertarian - conservative, and he has people from mostly conservative, a lot of Christian ministries, but different perspectives on
I'm
the
kind
airwaves.
of a libertarian conservative, and Matt is
Yeah.
kind of a libertarian liberal, so we make a nice mix.
So, anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about you, Jen, and your what you've done, what you've accomplished. I met you, as I said earlier, at the Faneuil Hall very briefly. I think I handed you a CD or a DVD. I said, I got to get hold of this lady.
Actually, your son, I remember.
That's right. It was my son. I was able to.
There were quite a few people there. It was it was very, very, very crowded. There was a lot of good vendors there. You were there representing the John Birch Society, and I never got over to really get to go over to any of the tables. And your son came up, and he was so wonderful with this big smile on his face. And my dad would really like you to have these. And I thanked him, and he was just adorable.
Yeah. Well, he's now 18, and he's a little taller than I am. So.
Oh, I know. Bear with me. I'm going through empty nest syndrome.
So, and he wants to be a gunsmith. Can you believe that? I tease people. I say I failed him. I want him to be a social worker or a Peace Corps volunteer. He wants to be a gunsmith. Where did I go wrong?
Oh, where did you go right? That's wonderful. To be able to make sure our tools are operating properly.
Yeah. So
that's what firearm is tools.
We homeschool, and so it's he's not getting that indoctrination 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and then has to come home and have that cognitive distance.
I'm so glad that you guys can do that. But one thing I can say is that for people who can't do that, both people got to work. You want to stay home, but you can't. There are ways to use the public school environment and homeschool at the same time, which is what we do. Well,
I think we have a common friend, Rich Gerard.
Yeah.
Manchester, New Hampshire. Well, his son Dominic.
Just so you know, he's actually in the ipmnation family.
That's great. Anyway, Rich's son Dominic and two of his children have been coming to camp now, and Rich, on his station, gives us plenty of time to promote Camp Constitution, and also he runs free ads for us, and he'll be doing a little commercial closer to camp next year, probably maybe in April or May of next year, start running it. But his son, Dominic, we have a camp blog, and we're looking for people to write articles, and that's sort of challenging since we're all volunteer. But Dominic, who's now in a public school, I think he was homeschooled for a while. He's he's showing leadership, and because they assault your values. The first they get you. The first day you're there, his values under attack, but he's free. Thanks to his upbringing, he's very rooted, and he's sort of become a leader. But he's wrote an article on moral absolutes and moral relativism, and I'm going to post it on the camp blog probably next couple of days. So we're very excited about it. Yeah, so and I wouldn't mind having Dominic. I'd like to probably interview him on the show sometime. But anyway, Jen, you're from originally Carver, Massachusetts, Cranberry Country, and we'll just tell people, instead of having me do it, let's have people tell you a little bit about what got you involved in the Liberty Movement, and once you got involved, what did you do in New Hampshire as a state legislature to really make an impact on the whole nation?
Oh, you're really
and we only have about 20 minutes left here. Yeah,
okay, short version. I was in 2004. I was completely ignorant of political matters or matters of government. I did not put the connection together that what these people do affected my life and the life of my child. And at the time, I was married, and my spouse would tell me certain things about government, how there was going to be more government intrusion and a lessening of our privacy, a lessening of our constitutional rights. And I basically said, hogwash. and didn't pay much mind to it until I walked into work one day and I was told that I had to now fingerprint in order to clock in and clock out. And I was really kind of freaked out by that because my spouse had told me that was going to happen 6 months prior. And I'm like, I work at a hospital.
Right.
How did that happen? And then it did. So that kind of started me to looking at things. So short version, I joined the freestateproject.org. If you're not familiar with it, please check it out, freestateproject.org, and decided to pick up my family and move to New Hampshire and started protesting and standing up for my civil liberties and learning how valuable it is to be involved in government as a citizen or elected, that every voice can make a humongous impact. And in so doing, I ended up running for office, and I was elected and served 2 terms in the House of Representatives. The second term, I was very much involved in leadership. I was on the Speaker's transition team. But in my tenure, I got to do something that, with the help of many, many other people, nothing I could have done alone. But we did something that has not been done, as far as we know, in United States history, and not since. And what we did was we passed 2 pro-Second Amendment bills through the House of Representatives, the Senate, and signed into law by a Democratic governor. The first bill removing all bans on all knives. All knives are legal in New Hampshire.
And by the way, I do want to mention
right.
You are the author of a book called Knives, Lipstick, and Liberty. And I know Camp Constitution co-published a version of it, so I just want to mention that. So before I didn't want to forget that, yes.
Yes, and there is a Kindle version of it on Amazon, and it does include information on Camp Constitution. That was a project that I was very happy to have a partnership with, and the joy of knowing that because of that book, we actually, and because of passing, lifting all the bans on knives and passing knife preemption unanimously through the House, the Senate, and signed by a Democratic governor. And that's what the uniqueness is that both bills were pro-Second Amendment bills. The first one, the Republicans, which I am, were in the minority. And you would think a repeal on knives, switchblades no less, would never pass in a democratically controlled House, the Republican Senate, and a Democratic governor. No way, right? Both bills, unanimous consent. I'm absolutely amazed that the amount of work people did. And with the book, we were able to raise money for scholarships. So, and that's so important. If you're looking for a way to give back, make a donation to Camp Constitution, because there's a lot of really great kids out there that have never been out in nature, the trees, and heard the birds that we can show them in New Hampshire.
Well, Jen, we've had campers come from New York City, and one particular camper, she's looking at the stars, and she's sort of totally amazed by it. In fact, we have a good contingent that comes from Queens or the Upper East Side, and they're looking at the stars, and they, wow, what are those things? They're just so amazed. So it's always great. And one of the campers, it was a first-time camper this year, he posted on one of our YouTube videos that thanks to Camp Constitution, he got an A in a civics project he was involved in. So it's sort of what makes it worthwhile, is that you don't always know the impact you have. Are they getting this information? Are they really taking it to heart? And then you hear people like Dominic Gerard and this young man. And I thought, it's definitely, we know we're having an impact on people. And not just young people, but also adults. There's a lot of adults out there that come to camp with their children.
I was honored at one time. I went to the camp and I gave a class on the Second Amendment. And there were parents there. And I was very grateful for them telling me, thank you for talking to their children about the importance of why their lives matter and why the right to self-defense and to protect oneself from a criminal is the right choice.
And it's good coming from a woman's perspective too, because first off, I think a handgun is the great equalizer. Most women tend to be not as strong as men, but that doesn't mean they can't defend themselves.
You remember the demonstration, right?
What's that?
Do you remember the demonstration?
Oh yes, I did. Yes, you had one of our campers was about 6'5" and built like a Mack truck, and yeah.
And I am 5'4", so if you can imagine a 5'4" woman sitting next to this 6.5-foot tall. This kid looked like he came off of a football team. Okay.
Yeah, well, he did. He was on a football team, high school.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I called it right. But I had him stand next to me, and I asked everybody, "Do you think I can defend myself from him?" And they all kind of were like, "Yeah, I don't think so." Yeah. And I asked him if he would step away from me, and I asked him if he would come at me, and I brought my hand up to my head like I was going to dial a phone, 911, and he's in my face. And he stopped.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's try that again. And he goes back, and he starts coming at me again. And this time I yelled, freeze, or I'll shoot. And I made the motion with my hands of a firearm. And he stopped. He stopped so far away from me that he could not reach me from the distance that he was. And that was what I was trying to get across to them is it's a serious issue, and Mom and Dad have to be involved in training and learning and how important it is to learn safety, but how important it is to keep yourself away from criminals, from evil people. There are evil people in this world. Like it or not, there is no utopia anywhere.
That's true. Yeah.
You have to be prepared to be your own defense, because otherwise, and this is where legislature go wrong, and this is why we, the people, have to be so vocal with our federal representatives and our state representatives, have to get them to understand that we have a right to life. We have a right to choose our lives over the lives of a criminal. That criminal's life is not more valuable than our own. And when you deny me the right to self-defense, that's what you're saying.
Either criminals or
life is more valuable.
Either a criminal or somebody on a psychotropic drug that somehow broke up with his girlfriend or doesn't like your pigmentation and comes into your college or comes into your church and decides to just empty the magazine. And, boy, if some of these people were I mean, can you imagine if you were at one of those colleges or at that church? Yeah, they might have got a few shots off.
Well, I'll tell you, as an EMT, I cringe because I worked in the emergency room, and I can just imagine what my mind goes to, what it's like to have to be that emergency worker in that situation. Keep it together and provide care. I can't even imagine the horror that all of those people went through. And here's the thing, Hal, not too long ago, there was a young white male who blew up a federal building. In that federal building, there was a daycare.
Yes. You're talking about the Oklahoma bombing, I believe, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, 1995?
I think so. I think so. And there were over 100 people that died. It was like 120 some odd people, I think. Or was it more than that?
Yeah, it was that. Yeah, it was about that, I think. Yeah.
But there was a daycare in there, and this guy got fertilizer and whatever else he needed, and threw it in a truck and stuck it in front of the what was it called, the Mural Federal Building?
Yes, that's right, the Mural Federal Building. He had a rented vehicle, and he parked it in front of a truck and just simply walked away and got in his car a few blocks away and drove off. And, not one handgun was used.
So you need to, apparently we need to start doing background checks and have a 72-hour waiting period to rent a vehicle. You should have to do a background check and wait 72 hours in order to buy fertilizer. No, we didn't go there because we understood as human beings, no matter where you come from, that this was an evil man who did an evil thing, and his evil deed took all those lives, those innocent lives.
That's right. That's right.
That's what happens at the schools. They're gun-free zones. They're killing zones. It's like fish in a barrel.
What's fascinating is that you'll see gun-free zone, and you'll also see drug-free zone, but we know that's a lie because these young people come in there. I'm going a little off topic here, but they come in there and get their nice little psychotropics arranged by their guidance counselor and the school nurse and the drug companies. And I think almost every one of these persons that have been involved in these school shootings.
Yes, you're right. Every one of them has been on some kind of a medication. And the number of students that we are medicating these days is horrifying. I'm a mom. My son's 22. He's a senior in college. When he was in kindergarten, he was on the school bus, and he asked another student if he could have a piece of gum. The school bus driver insisted that he use the word gun. Took him off the bus. Yes, took him off the bus, called me. He was suspended from kindergarten. I was to have him evaluated. They believed he had ADHD and needed to be on medication. Thankfully, I had an old school, no-nonsense pediatrician who wrote a letter to them asking them where they got their PhDs in medicine, and that his patient does not have ADHD and will not be prescribed medication that he does not need. What we have here is an only child who just got put in a room full of 20 kids and toys. What do you think happened? He got hypo, a toy. I
remember, Jen, I have my kindergarten scrapbook, believe it or not. And I invented the smiley face before this guy from Worcester did, but I'd never copyrighted it because I have one. But I also have I know. I'm doing a little picture of my father in his World War II days, that he's got a gun and he's firing bullets. And they look at that. And, that's great. You get an A on it, right? Today, my parents would be arrested if they did something like that today. Oh, there's violence you're promoting. There must be guns in the house. You need to drug your boy down.
And look what we've become. We had a young man in New Hampshire who signed up to be a Marine. And during the summer, between his junior and senior year of high school, he went away to boot camp. And he was a Marine. And he came back and finished his senior year of high school, and he wanted to walk in his uniform that he had earned. And they refused to allow it. They told him he could wear it, but he had to cover it with the gown. He said that would be disrespecting the uniform.
You're out of uniform if you do something like that.
Travis, there's a point to this for the reason why I'm telling you this story. He, being the man that he was, just simply complied and wore a regular suit and went and wore the cap and gown and went to graduation. He then went overseas and he came back in a draped casket.
Oh, my goodness.
This young man was denied his right in school to take pride in the uniform he had earned. And to listen to those people talk about what a wonderful student he was and how great he was and I was filled with rage.
Wow.
I hope that they look in the mirror every day and they dread what's looking back at them.
What's his name? Do you have his name, Jen?
Oh, chemo brain's kicking in, hon. I'm sorry. I cannot.
Oh, that's okay.
And I feel terrible for it. I feel terrible for it because it bothered me so.
One of the interesting things is when you go to these schools, they're promoting global citizenship. They promote this idea of a one world government. And unfortunately, as a result, we become the soldiers, and we have to do most of the dirty work for the UN. So, but in school they teach you to be a pacifist, and they need warriors to build this new world order. And where are they going to come from? They got to come from us. So, in fact, if they really they should be promoting the warrior class. So we have to be the advocates of this one world system, and be the soldiers to bring this wonderful UN utopia forward. So it's kind of where are they going to come from? Not going to come to the United States. All these things that we're involved in. Again, I'm digressing a little bit. Hey, we only have a couple of minutes left. Actually, about 3 minutes now. I want to quickly talk about the Real ID. Now, you played a significant role in getting New Hampshire to say no, and as a result, many, many other states. So give us some update, if you have any update on that issue.
They're pushing hard again, and we, the people, need to stand up. We need to unite. We need to say no to Real ID. There are multiple reasons why. Real ID requires you to put your Social Security number and your home address on the front of your driver's license with a photographic image that's been taken with facial recognition technology that will be placed into a database that is accessible by all governmental entities across the United States. That is my short version. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to JennCoffey.com, JennCoffey.com.
And you have updated information.
Radio. I'm sorry?
You have updated information on you write blogs on the site, and so it's updated.
My blog is the blogging that I do now is is my personal journey through breast cancer and survivorship, and where that journey has taken me. So always there's contact information on there. If people want more information or want to hear more, we'll have to do this again. We could do a whole show on Real ID. We had 20 states that passed resolutions saying that they did not want to comply to it. We had 7 states initially that passed laws forbidding it. At this point, we have 5 states, but then they wavered one, so there's 4. So the federal government has got their foot on our necks, and they're trying to push really hard. And they're threatening people and saying you're not going to be able to get on a plane if you don't have a Real ID compliant ID.
Right. That's by 2016. I think that's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying now, but you have to remember this passed in 2005.
That's right.
We are now 10 years. We have fought this off. We cannot continue fighting this off unless more people join us and more states get back on board with, stopping this compliance. What it creates is a national identification cards, papers, please society. We do not want that.
Right. All in the name of fighting terrorism. All in the name of fighting the so-called terrorism. Well, anyway, you've been listening to Camp Constitution Radio on WBCQ The Planet. And Jenn Coffey is my guest, and Jen, you can get a hold of her by Jenn Coffey, COFFEY.com.org.
Yep, and you can tune in to ipmnation.com/live2 at 4:00 tomorrow on Saturday afternoon, and hear Camp Constitution Radio.
That's great. And also your book, Knives, Lipstick, and Liberty, is available on Amazon. Yep. So, again, thanks for having me. Thanks. You had me on last 2 days ago. Thanks for being on Camp Constitution Radio, and thanks for listening, folks. God bless.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was so much fun reminiscing.
Very good.
Bye-bye.
Good night now.
Night.